Hello everyone. Today I would like to read out the first chapter titled The King's Daughter and I from my new manuscript titled The King's Daughter and Him. This story is a work of fiction. All characters, events, and places are imaginary or symbolic in nature. Any resemblance to real person living or dead or real events is purely coincidental. This story is intended for entertainment, creative expression, and interpretive storytelling purposes only. I'd like to read out the story. In search of a new story, I travel down memory lane thinking about the many people I have met in my life. While journeying through those memories, I came across the king's daughter, who interestingly never called herself a princess, and him, an ordinary man with extraordinary talent and a charm that could steal any princess' heart. Yet his charm did not work on the king's daughter. I know she was drawn to him, but she was the king's daughter, someone who never wanted to admit her weakness. It is a story that first appears to be a love story, then turns into something else, and finally finds itself in a land that speaks the language of love in a world filled with hatred. If this sounds interesting to you, I would like to narrate it with their permission. I met the king's daughter almost 25 years ago, yet their story still brings a smile to my face. I had just begun my professional life in Bangalore. It was my first job, my first month at work. I wanted to do my best. Earning my own money filled me with pride, and I had decided to gift myself something special every month. With my first salary, I stepped into a small shop with a bright, colorful billboard that read Rekha's Bangles and Bindis. In those days, I loved collecting designer bindis. They weren't created by well known designers, they were simply a little different from the usual round bindis that women wore on their foreheads, labeled designer bindi by brands of ordinary people. The sales girl placed several boxes of bindis in front of me, and I began choosing what I liked. The boxes were filled with bright colored bindis. Some with stones and some without. Stones rested on shades of maroon, red, green, and even black. Some were not even round. Their abstract shapes carried a beauty of their own. Those simple transparent boxes seemed transformed by the bindis they held. Just then the door opened. Two young security guards entered, followed by a lady. Her demeanor made it clear she was not an ordinary woman like me. The sales girl immediately set everything aside, including me. The shop owner stood up from his chair. Princess, we are so fortunate that you're here. How can we help you? Princess, I wondered, we don't have kings and queens anymore. We live in a democracy, and yet I found myself pushed aside, as if royalty still held its place in this world. I looked at the bindis lying unattended, both the simple round ones and the designer ones, with no one to assist me. I chose not to turn around. After all, we were both customers in the same shop. The lady smiled gently. Please don't address me as a princess. I am now the king's daughter. What difference does that make? I wondered. A king's daughter is always called a princess, isn't she? The question lingered, though I couldn't ask her. She was a stranger. Another thought crossed my mind. Why is she here? In a shop meant for ordinary people like me. Will this too be taken over by luxury brands someday? I picked up the bindis I liked but had to wait for billing as all the attention was on her. I sat down and watched as the same boxes were once placed before me were now presented to her with detailed explanations, something I had not received. After a while, she turned to me. Excuse me, if you don't mind, may I see the bindis you have chosen? I hesitated. I thought she might judge my choices. Still, her politeness made it impossible to refuse. I showed her what I had selected. The shop owner proudly introduced her to me. She is the Princess of Dash. I choose not to reveal the name of the place. She had asked me not to, and I respect her decision. She then instructed the shopkeeper to pack the same set for herself and thanked me for helping her choose. To my surprise, my billing was done first on her instruction. As I stepped out of the shop, I still wondered why a royal woman would come to such an ordinary place to buy something as simple as a bindi. I stepped out of the shop. I tried starting my gearless bike but realized it had a flat tire. Irritated and a little helpless, I stood there. She stepped out shortly after and seemed to sense my situation. She quickly sent her guards to help me. I explained the problem and they informed her while she sat in her car. They helped me fix the issue, and it was clear they were acting on her instructions. I thanked the guards and the king's daughter. Though I had pretended not to care about her presence inside the shop, I was quietly happy. I had met a kind princess. I thought our story would end there, and that brief encounter, I never imagined I would meet her again under entirely different circumstances or revisit her through this story. Perhaps the connection had already begun to weave itself through destiny. As I rode my bike that day, I couldn't wait to tell my friends and family how I had met a princess in an ordinary shop. I didn't have a selfie as a proof, but some stories are meant to be felt, not shown. Stories where the ordinary meets the extraordinary. And him, how did I meet him? Did I always know him? This is a story for the next chapter. That's all for the day. Do let me know your thoughts about this chapter by writing in the comments section. Thanks for watching and thanks for your time.